Newcastle 3, Sunderland 0, and there was a massive goal from quality between the two sides. I personally expected a lot more from Sunderland and was hoping for a lot more from Sunderland just as a neutral fan to make it a better game, but Newcastle just dominated. The Bradford did have to make one or two good saves, but I didn't feel that Newcastle really got out of second gear, and they just looked all over them physically with the passing. They were just picking everything up, and Sunderland really struggled to sort of sustain the ball. And I get to an extent you would expect that because, one's a Premier League side that's pushing for European spaces, and one is obviously a Championship side, and there's a difference in level between the squad and the money spent. But this is a derby. This is a Newcastle side with many injuries. This is a Newcastle side that I don't think have beaten Sunderland in years. I think it was like 6 or 12 or 10. I think they haven't played in 6 years. But in years before this game, this is Sunderland at home. This is Sunderland's biggest game in a very long time. I thought that Sunderland were going to come up and show something today because Newcastle got destroyed by Liverpool. Newcastle were embarrassingly poor versus Liverpool. And I thought Sunderland were going to give them a game today. They were going to roughen them up. It was going to be a proper game. And it was a proper game to the point of, like, as just a neutral, I loved the old school, the Wenger Fergie era, which I grew up to, rather than, Klopp and Pep kissing each other. I love that sort of darbiness. And even Bruno Guimaraes, I can see why rivals hate him, but I can see why Newcastle fans love him because his passion, everything. And that's what I love in a player like the Bruno Guimaraes, Roy Keane, Bruno Fernandes. If they play for your club, you're like, yes. If they don't play for your club, you're like, can't stand him. He was really giving it today. And it did give off that energy, but it was so much Newcastle domination. And I have to say, Almiron was incredible, and maybe Almiron will get some confidence back. I think Almiron's a decent player, but he has good spells, bad spells. I think Newcastle will ultimately need a right winger, but if they can have Almiron in confidence and having a good spell, he'll be good. He's one of the hardest working players ever. He was brilliant today. I thought Bruno Guimaraes and Joelinton were probably my two man of the matches, destroyed the midfield. Joelinton, particularly before he went off, was unbelievable. Joelinton's a special player, and we were talking about him because I think technically he's really underrated. The fact that he started his career as a striker then's turned into this sort of beast in the midfield is crazy. And I think a game like this where it was quite physical, Joelinton dominates this kind of game. It was a proper game of football. I love, the physical, the battles, old school football. It gave that vibe. It was a proper game of football, and Joelinton kind of thrives in that. But he does have good technical ability as well. Bruno Guimaraes is just a top. You could argue world class player. He is Newcastle's best player. He is a phenomenal player. And even Isak, 2 goals today, could have been 3. I don't think Isak was at his best. I think he's getting warmed up. But if he's scoring 2 goals when he's not at his best, that's a big sign. Yes, it is Sunderland. Yes, it is Championship opposition. But I think that's what football fans do. Man United would beat a Championship side 4-0 and would be nitpicking, oh, it's a Championship side. We can't praise this player. And I think there would be Newcastle fans guilty of that. You've won against your rivals. Enjoy it. If Man United beat Leeds 4-0, who are in the Championship, and, Rashford gets a hat-trick, I'm going to be hyping up Rashford. He's had a brilliant game. I don't care that it's a Championship game. They're your rivals. It's away from home. It's still a difficult game. There's no football game. It's easy. And I think there's this whole sense in football, but if you beat a Championship team 3-0, you can't get too high. They're a Championship side. Enjoy it. I thought Newcastle were brilliant today. Enjoy it. Stop looking to nitpick. I thought that there was no one that particularly had a bad game. I think that, Miley and Longstaff, I don't think they were having their best game, but they didn't have a bad game. I think that Longstaff in those sort of last 20 minutes looked a lot better. I think, obviously Bruno Guimaraes and Joelinton sort of set the level in midfield, and they were just that level. I think Sven Botman's just that level. Isak, we know, has those levels, and that was the example. But Almiron was probably one of the best players. And I have to say, I felt a bit sorry for Anthony Gordon because he got fouled a lot, and I think Sunderland could have had a red card because he got a yellow card when his shirt was being pulled, and then they were really going for Anthony Gordon today. But I thought he was causing problems today, and he won the penalty as well. So I thought Anthony Gordon had a good game. But I do want to talk about Bruno Guimaraes. I do want to talk about Joelinton, and I do want to talk about Almiron. They were the 3 best players to me. Then we can get into other things as well. Gordon and Isak offered a lot in attack. Bradford did well. But I've got the game numbers up of Joelinton today, and I think he, for me, was, man of the match when you think about, like, his first half. And if I can get this up here, let me zoom in. Let me share my screen with you guys. So this is I've got Bruno Guimaraes up on the screen. One sec. So this was Joelinton here. And Joelinton today in the first half, 94% pass accuracy, 43 touches, 29 out of 31 passes completed, 5 out of 7 ground duels, 3 out of 3 dribbles completed, 2 aerial duels won. He dominated that first. He destroyed that first half. And I think it was a game that suited him because of just how physical the ball was. But Joelinton was so good on the ball. Not only is he technically quite good, not only does he have a lot of things, but I think he's more that he's aggressive. He wins his duels. he's there. It felt like he was always there today, and I thought he was brilliant. And I think in those derby games, those old school battle games, you want someone like Joelinton there who can win his duels, that holds off players, that is like, I'm the physical beast, you're not beating me. The amount of ground he covers, just his physical ability is unreal. I think off the ball, Newcastle have some of the best players. I think on the ball, Man City sort of know having the best players, but off the ball, when it comes to sort of the ground coverage and the physical and the winning the duels, Newcastle have some of the best players, and Joelinton is one of those. And I think every team will want a player like Joelinton, because there's certain games when it gets into a battle where he's there, he causes problems, and he just destroyed. And when you've got Joelinton that is destroying, and then you've got next to him Bruno guimaraes, who is dictating, who's a special in his own world kind of player that I think is a lot of people will be looking at, because apparently he has a release clause in the summer. I'm not sure what that is, but do let me know in the comments the details on that. I've heard rumours about it. It works. I think maybe they will need another midfielder in Newcastle. There was a few holes in the midfield. Maybe Calvin Phillips gets them through to the end of the season, because they've had lots of injuries with people like Willock. I think maybe Calvin Phillips, if he can reach his Leeds form, would be good, and that could push Bruno further up, and Bruno could create more, because I think Bruno is their best creative outlet, but he's also playing the deepest. And I always think, would Bruno be better just as good as he has been? Would he be better just pushed up a little bit further up, or do they want to go for like a Paquetá, a Brazilian trio? You never know sort of what their plan is, but Bruno was dictating the game well today, and I'm going to get Bruno's statistics and Bruno's numbers up today, because Bruno guimaraes, whether he'll leave Newcastle or not, he didn't look like a player that wanted to leave Newcastle. He looked incredibly passionate today. He looked like he was in the mood. He looked like he was really up for it today. But, I mean, this guy dictated the game. Look at this here. He had 106 touches, 86% pass accuracy, 79 passes completed, 12 out of 16 long balls completed, which is mad. 4 out of 7 ground duels won, 3 out of 4 tackles won, 1 key pass. As Dave said here, he pulled the strings, and he pulled the strings yet again. He's the dictator, Joelinton's the destroyer, and Newcastle were very, very dominant in that midfield. And I think that is what made it difficult for Sunderland, was just Newcastle got hold of the midfield. I do question why Sunderland tried to play out from the back against Newcastle, when you know that Almiron and Gordon are probably two of the hardest working wingers, two people that press incredibly hard. And I have to say that Almiron had a great game today. I believe he had 8 ball recoveries, which is insane. I think with Almiron, he was really working hard for the team, made some good runs, but off the ball, how hard Almiron works. And I think while there's question marks over whether he'll be good enough for Newcastle or not, I think he's one of those that I wouldn't sell in the summer, but he's one of those where if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd want a right wing, but I'd want Almiron in the squad, because he's a really good rotation option. And I think if you want to become an elite squad, if Newcastle want to be able to compete with the Man Cities and the Liverpool, they need that depth. When Man City have John Stones injured, there's Guardiola, there's Diaz, there's Ake, there's Akanji. They even had Laporte when he used to be good. Whereas I think that's where Shah and Botman is injured. They've got Lascelles, and Lascelles has been brilliant, but that's the difference. If they come and get a top centre-back in like an Antonio Silva, if he gets injured, well, the third option is Shah. And Shah being your bench option when he's a very good player, it puts Newcastle up a level. Almiron being a bench option at right wing because you've brought in an Elise, puts you up a level. That's what I mean. I think that's what Newcastle will want going forward. But I thought Almiron was good today. And I think one thing that Newcastle have been struggling with is lack of confidence. They were on a poor run. They hadn't been great. And I think even though people say it's a championship team, it's Sunderland, it's a derby. It's a game that I think a lot of Newcastle fans were worried going into, because Sunderland fans were hyping them up. They're on a bad run. They've not had very good results against Sunderland in the past. I think that win will give them confidence. Isak, Gordon, Almiron, I think that will give them confidence. Dan Burn looked a lot better today. Midfield was just unbelievable. You've got Botman sort of warming up. Botman's return is brilliant. You can see Botman's a good level. I thought Kieran Trippier had a good game. He's dropped off a bit, but he looked good, especially because he's only come back from injury. And I think that will be the game to hopefully just boost Newcastle's confidence levels to get them in a better place. I think it's lucky for Newcastle that this Premier League break kind of came at a good time for them, because they've just been plagued with injuries, and I think that's one of the reasons for their drop-off. But you could see the confidence they've gone at Newcastle, but today they looked ready. So yeah, I say Bruno Fernandes was brilliant. I'd say Newcastle barely got into second year, but were very dominant. And I thought Almiron and Joelinton were fantastic. And I think Trippier showed his class, Bruno showed his class. And the big difference between Newcastle and Sunderland today was Newcastle have those players that Sunderland don't have. Your Bruno guimaraes, your Trippiers, your Isak, your Sven Botmans, that are just another class to, championship players. They are top 14 players. Do you know what I mean? That was the big difference. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. I'll probably do a video on Werner to Tottenham later, so do subscribe for that and some other content coming. Bye.